Okay, now I'm just like any ordinary child growing up, or at least I was. I'm not a child anymore, clearly, because like, look at me. I look older than your own auntie. But one thing I will say is that growing up, having a babysitter was never a good idea. And to this day, I never liked any of the babysitters I had. No offense to all the babysitters I've done on this channel. I just want to say you guys were all great while doing the Devil's Tango. But other than that, like, you're pretty much pointless, because I can take care of myself. Like, all I do is sit down, eat candy every day, just do whatever I want. But what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy but also really weird video. So today's story all takes place back when I was in high school. This was my grade 9 year. Now, in grade 9, I was an ordinary kid. Well, I wasn't really trying to pull girls, I guess I should say. I don't know. I was a pretty average child growing up. And around my grade 9 year, I was really insecure, but at the same time, I had a really bad stutter that you guys don't ever get to see. One thing I will say is that, like, I don't know, my grade 9 year, I wasn't the ordinary kid as you guys all expect me to have been, if that makes any sense. But I remember growing up, there was this one time where I was sitting in my room doing my own thing, and my mom walks in. My mom walks in, and I was just playing on my gaming setup that I just got, because at this time, having a gaming setup was like a major flex. And I remember me having a gaming setup back then. It was a really cool gaming setup that I built. I had 3 TVs that my dad didn't want for work anymore, and I ended up using those 3 TVs to make this giant gaming setup. Actually, here's a picture of it. Tommy, if you can put a picture of it, it was actually really cool back then. And with this gaming setup is where I first actually started making my very first videos from a long time back. But going on with the story, I remember I would always sit on this gaming setup every single day. And at this time, I was still a good kid, so my parents had no reason to take away from me. I was like actually doing pretty good in school as well. But ever since I got this gaming setup, as time went past during my grade 9 year, I would start skipping school more just to play on my gaming setup. I would actually end up skipping school to play video games and, well, basically just be on my setup all the time. It got to the point where my parents were really concerned with me, and they actually ended up giving me timeouts where I would not be allowed to use my gaming setup. But the thing was that the gaming setup was in my bedroom, so they would get really annoyed. They didn't want to like invade my privacy, but at the same time they didn't want me using my gaming setup. So I remember they would do things like, for example, unplug the setup. They would do things like unplug the Wi-Fi, but it got to a point where none of it really worked, and they decided to do one thing that really annoyed me, which they knew would work for me not to basically be on my setup anymore, and that was hire a babysitter. Now, I hate babysitters. I don't know why parents do this. Don't get a babysitter. Just take care of your own child. If you want to pop a child out, take care of your own child. But I remember at this moment, my mom and dad ended up actually hiring a babysitter without me knowing. And I remember one day when I came home from school, I ended up seeing that there was a car parked in my driveway. Now, I didn't recognize this car because it was like a yellow Jeep, and I was really confused on whose car it was until I walked inside and I saw in the living room that my mom was talking to a young woman that was wearing a red tank top, and she looked really attractive. She was blonde, blue eyes, and really, really hot. And I remember when she looked over at me, I ended up looking at her saying, hi, who are you? Oh, hi, Baba. I'm your babysitter. Your mom hired me to take care of you, to make sure you got your schoolwork done and basically take care of you. Wait, Mom, Dad, are you guys leaving? No, honey, but we're going to work and you need to stay here and make sure you finish your homework and not be on the video games all the time. Okay. I mean, fair enough, I guess. But at the same time, this is kind of a dumb reason to do it, is what I told my parents, because I got really annoyed with the fact that they got a babysitter. But at the same time, they're my parents. They always want the best for me. And I'm sure that everyone watching this video, your parents also wanted the best for you. But now this is where everything kind of goes insane, because I remember my parents ended up getting up and leaving and going to work, and me, I ended up going straight upstairs to my bedroom, and I did the one thing that I always do every time I get home: play some Call of Duty. So I'm sitting there on my gaming setup, I'm launching my 3 monitors, I'm going crazy, I'm, you know, turning on my recording software to record the trick shots I hit, because back then I used to be an insane trick shotter. And when one thing led to another, my babysitter enters my room and says, Baba, you should be doing your... Whoa, you have like a whole like gaming setup. Yeah. Wait, what are you doing here? Well, your mom told me that you're supposed to be doing schoolwork, but what is all this? Well, this is like what I play on and stuff. I'm starting to record like me doing trick shots so I can post it online. Oh, wow, it's very impressive. Wait, can I watch? You want to watch me hit trick shots? Yeah, I'm actually like kind of like impressed. Like I heard there was like this thing called like FaZe Clan that like also did stuff like this, but like I kind of want to like watch how you do it. At this moment, this girl was apparently like rehearsed in gaming, but she didn't know too much about it, to the point where she was interested about me and my gaming setup, and also trick shotting somehow. I don't know, I guess at this time trick shotting became like a bigger thing, since, you know, the internet was like so obsessed with Call of Duty back then compared to now when it's all Fortnite and Roblox. But I didn't mind. I was like, sure, why not? And I ended up showing her how I hit trick shots. She found it pretty funny, but I wasn't sure if she was just doing this to be friendly and then make me do my schoolwork after, or she was just actually interested. I want to say like 20 minutes went by me showing her, and that's when this babysitter ended up saying, oh wow, you're really good. Can I try? You want to try hitting a trick shot? Yeah, I don't see why not. Can I please like try it out? Yeah, sure. Let me show you. And then afterwards, I ended up basically handing her my controller, but this girl was like really dumb and she did not know how to use a controller whatsoever. She didn't understand the analog sticks were meant to move and that the buttons were meant to like, you know, make you jump and stuff. I don't know. I'm hoping that people that are watching this video understood what video games really are and how to use a controller. But if you don't, play some video games. Figure it out. One thing, and when I realized that this girl didn't know how to use a controller, I remember I ended up walking up to her and I decided to help her out. I ended up basically holding the controller with her and showed her how to move her hand. But the weirdest part was that this babysitter was liking this way too much, to the point where she ended up actually started to cuddle up next to me, and she started like slowly, like I guess like putting her like hands on me in a different way. I don't really want to get into detail because YouTube, I know you guys don't like, you know, my videos being too descriptive, but still going on. But one thing led to another. I remember it got to the point where this babysitter, she looks over at me and says, honestly, Baba, like there's just something about you that just changes me. And she got really close to me as if she wanted to kiss me. Now I started to panic and I ended up like, you know, pushing her away from me slightly. And I'm like, whoa, like, what are you doing? You're my babysitter. Oh, I mean, like, yeah, sorry. This is really awkward. I'm gonna go downstairs. And she ends up leaving my room and actually like, you know, went downstairs to the kitchen to go make food for herself. As for me, well, since she left me alone and was really weirded out by me, I decided to basically just continue what I was doing and playing video games. But after an hour, my babysitter ends up coming back into my room and she ends up sitting me on the bed and saying, Baba, I just want to say, like, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't know you weren't interested in me. And like, this is like really awkward. And I never like had this happen to me. Have what happened to you? Well, like rejection. At this moment, I was like, wait, you're upset because I rejected you? Well, yeah, like, you know, I never had that happen. And that's when I decided to tell her the honest truth, and that I said, yo, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, you are really attractive and I think you're hot. I just like didn't like, you know, think you would be okay with that since you're my babysitter. Well, like, how old are you again? Oh, like, I'm, you know, old enough to understand what's going on. And that's when this babysitter ended up actually coming onto the bed with me, and well, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, we ended up doing the Devil's Tango. All because I guess this babysitter didn't want to not get rejected. And after we finished doing the Devil's Tango, this babysitter at random moments before my parents would come home would always like tell me things like, oh, like, give me a kiss and all this stuff, being all cute. But the one time she ended up asking me was right in the living room as we were sitting down next to each other watching Vampire Diaries on the TV. Don't ask why we were watching that. She wanted to watch it. I wasn't complaining. She was hot. And right as she says, give me a kiss, I end up leaning in for a kiss. And that's when my mom ends up walking back into my living room, coming home from work, and says, what are you doing with the babysitter? Are you kidding me? First I tell you no video games, and now you're kissing babysitters? I am done. You are fired. Get out. My babysitter ends up standing up and leaving. And well, me, I ended up actually losing my gaming setup that day for like about 2 weeks. Then when I got an A on one of my tests, my parents gave me it back, which, to be fair, I think it's a good trade-off for a reward.